Hi, Senator Scott Jensen, Carver County. I want to talk a little bit about testing for the coronavirus. The way we test for coronavirus is we use a snippet of the RNA that the virus has. It's called PCR, or polymerase chain reaction. We were fortunate that this coronavirus was actually able to be mapped out, and I think the data on this was released on January 10th. That made it easier to start moving forward and, if you will, creating laboratory tests. It's not the best test. The best tests are still cooking. Those are tests that are called serology, where we check a person's antibodies and we can tell, is it an antibody that has been made recently indicating a person has acute disease, or was it made a while ago and the disease has already been resolved? We do those kind of tests with a disease like mono. We look for IgM antibodies to tell us they've got the infection right now, or we look for IgG antibodies to tell us that a person has had mono previously. Do I think the lack of testing or the lack of tests has been a big problem? Well, it's been a problem because it's making it harder for public health officials to zero in. But quite frankly, we don't need to test everybody that has possibly symptoms of COVID-19. It's a mild disease. More than 80% of people will skate through it. In Italy, I believe that over 90% of the people that succumbed to the disease had an average age of 80 and numerous other medical problems. So I don't think testing fixes that. It doesn't change anything, and there is no treatment for the COVID-19 disease. So in and of itself, having more tests wouldn't necessarily have done as much as we might hope it would. But it would have been nice to be able to zero in. And lastly, I think we need to talk a little bit about the skewing of the data that's going on. If what we're going to do is test those folks who come into emergency rooms with respiratory distress or significant symptoms that aren't able to be managed at home, then we're testing a population that's sicker. If we're testing people that are coming to the emergency room aged and fragile, we're testing a skewed population. If all kinds of people are weathering the storm and taking care of their COVID-19 disease without ever having hit the radar screen of seeing a medical official, you're not getting that big part of the denominator. So when someone says we have a fatality rate of 3%, it may well be less than 0.2%. So we have to realize that if you look at the cruise ship where everybody is quarantined, what they found was half of the people that tested positive had no symptoms. So testing is important. Our best tests aren't here yet. Mayo Clinic has just put their test out to market. The testing is expensive. If you go through the Department of Health in Minnesota, it typically has been a 3 to 4 day turnaround. That's a long time to wonder if the test is positive. I believe the Mayo Clinic test will have a turnaround time of 24 hours. I hope this helps. Thank you. And we're going to get through this. This is a mild disease that holds huge impact for a very small segment of the population. And that small segment of the population is the aged, fragile people with a history of significant medical problems. And for those people, I would say, be careful, be cautious, keep yourself out of harm's way. If you can sort of self-quarantine in a comfortable way, that might be the best way to go, while the rest of us build up an immunity and hopefully shelter you. We're going to get through this. Thank you, Scott Jensen.